This episode of the Sartorial Geek podcast is sponsored by Logan Arch. Logan Arch has super cute, nostalgic, and nerdy accessories and apparel. If you're a Hamilton fan or a gaming fan, I think you'll find something that you love. They have adorable enamel pins and these really, really cute new coin purses and regular purses that I'm obsessed with. If that sounds up your alley, please check them out at loganarchchicago.com and all over the internet at loganarchchicago. Hey, welcome to the Sartorial Geek podcast. I'm Jordan Ellis of Jordan Danae, and I'm here with Sage Young.
Hello.
We first met at a Doctor Who convention, right?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. And you were with your, traveling posse of fangirls, which I think is awesome. And I think you guys won me over by the fact that you all had, mason jar sippy cups with boxes of wine, and you were just walking around the con floor like that.
That's how to do it. Once you get past 3 o'clock, you're okay to fill up your wine. Yeah,
that was next level. I had never seen that happen before, and I will never forget it. It's so awesome.
We have it down to a science. When we go to a con, we're like, okay, so this is when we go to the Trader Joe's wine store, get the box.
So smart.
We don't have problems. We just are excited.
No, you just are on vacation.
Yeah, exactly. It is vacation.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I feel like you're actually sort of a professional fangirl, but tell people what your actual life is first.
So I am, as of pretty recently, I'm a movies editor at Bustle. I'd been an associate TV editor there for about 1.5 years, and a freelance writer for them and for other publications for the few years before that. So basically I am based in our New York headquarters. We also have an LA office. Well, not an LA office, but we have people in LA. We have a small UK office, but we're mostly New York. It's great. So I write and I edit and I manage our group of really awesome freelance movie writers. So it's pretty great. And I'm on a really cool team of awesome women who are also care about these sorts of things. We all have different interests, so that's fun. It's really kind of been this wasn't originally my career. I had been doing nonprofit fundraising and marketing and stuff like that for several years, and just sort of always doing fan-ish stuff in the background. And, I think that, and you, I'm sure relate to this, Jordan, but once you start applying the things that you love to your real life, hopefully you can figure out a way to make that the majority of your life. And that's really rewarding.
And it's so cool too when you actually have, I don't believe in fake fans, but you can tell the difference between someone who's interviewing Zazie Beetz, who actually knows who she is, instead of someone who's there's, I guess, a Deadpool movie some people have seen. You know what I mean? You can kind of tell when people love it and it's part of their job. And I know you actually do, which is great.
It's so fun to see too, I prefer interviewing people in person just because it's much nicer to if you don't know somebody, it's really hard to, if you're in a phone conversation, you're did they pause because they are done answering this, or are they thinking? And it's, if you're seeing someone in person, it's a little bit easier, but it's really fun in person when you are interviewing somebody about something that you do really love and you really follow. And when you ask a question that sort of reveals the fact that you really do actually know what you're talking about. And that person's sort of oh, okay. I can see it in their eyes.
Next level interview status.
And they're oh, she knows. Okay, we could really get into this, because people end up on red carpets because that's their assignment for the night. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're super passionate fans, but we try to do that at work. If across borders. So for TE, I'm in movies now. If somebody comes across for TV who everybody knows, I would die to interview, then they'll give it to me, because we obviously want people to be writing about things that they are not only knowledgeable about, but are very excited to discuss and know like what the conversation is also that fans are already having. It just makes for hopefully for better reading.
So do you guys know like everyone in the office what their like top favorite obsessions are? Is it like common knowledge?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty common knowledge. We talk on Slack all day. Our work Slack is work and fun. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so everybody, you know, being on the entertainment team, like we're also going through like entertainment news, like what happened today. So, you know everybody's feelings on like Pete and Ariana, and like,
right?
You're like, oh, you love them, you don't. Like, we're just constantly having those conversations. So it's really nice to. It was so cute. I remember like when I got the full-time job, because in other places that I've worked, I've been like super low key, like, don't wear a fan shirt to work. Like, don't let people know because they're all really like intellectual or whatever. And I remember when I got this job and the full-time one, and I told my dad, and he was just like, oh, you can really be yourself at work now. And I was like, Dad, you get it. It was really cute.
That's so
I know.
cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it was precious. He was right.
That's so awesome. I think it's really cool. I actually didn't know that used to be your job, and this is kind of new. Like, I love when that works out for people, that it just kind of happens. Not you put in a lot of hard work. It didn't just happen, but that the fandom following you is awesome.
Yeah, you find out that stuff is can be an asset in particular situations and not something you have to be like ashamed of or only doing on the weekends. Like the fact that you have this perhaps like maybe too in-depth knowledge of something is can be leveraged by somebody. Somebody really needs that. Someone needs somebody who knows the ins and outs of every Game of Thrones episode. That's not me, but somebody.
Well, and especially with fan culture, because there is such a fake fan gatekeepy thing. Like it is in your best interest if you can find a true fan to do it. Like, you're just going to save yourself potential headache, which is, I'm sure, really smart. But talking about doing stuff on the side, you also have a very fun side project that I love.
Yeah. This was actually the way that I basically was able to make a transition from doing marketing and fundraising and stuff to writing and editing full time, is because my best friend Kim and I started a blog 6 years ago. We just had our birthday 2 days ago. I can't believe I'm 6 years old. And it was basically just, we were going out for drinks and for coffee and for brunch and stuff and sort of giving our opinions to each other. And we just decided we were both kind of in jobs that were not creatively fulfilling. We had all these opinions we wanted to get out. We were lucky enough that we knew a lot of friends. Like this, when we started, it was we were pretty deep in community fandom. And community fandom.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and community fandom was like aggressively supportive and great. So I will say that like from the start, like having a group of people on the internet who were like, yeah, we'll tweet that. Yeah, we'll share it on Facebook. Yeah, whatever. Like, they were amazing and continue to be amazing. But it's just a sort of a catch-all pop culture blog. We do a lot of Doctor Who stuff, obviously, but we do all kinds of things. We do recaps. We have a couple like annual things that we do. We do our own like TV awards. My favorite time of the year is almost coming up, which is our Most Handsome Young Man competition.
I love it so much. It's my favorite time of year too.
Like all year long, we're like, okay, who are we going to nominate? Like we already have it in our minds. We love watching people. So basically we nominate a bunch of our favorite men for this award. Yeah. And it's not just about looks. Those are in there, but it's just like dudes we aggressively love. So like Lin-Manuel Miranda won it one year, Harry Styles won it another year, John Cho won it one year. It's just people who we really like adore and admire, and we have so much fun doing it and like leaving it up to readers to vote. So look for that.
It's so much fun, and it's way more interesting. Like, you guys do a great job of your selection. Is not just like, oh, sexiest man of the year is who you would expect again. It's actually interesting, which I think is great. Yeah. So
what are some of the coolest things you've gotten to do from either job, either Head Over Feels or Bustle? Because I know you've done some super cool interviews and like on stage stuff.
Yeah, I can't actually believe that people let me do it. Every time something is happening, I'm like, do they know that I have no idea what I'm doing?
Well, you're pulling it off, so keep going.
So with Head Over Feels stuff, it's been amazing to, it's hard for any blog of just like two people, and we have some very wonderful contributors who work on the site too. But it's hard to make a name and we never started this because we were like, oh, we're going to sell this to, Vulture someday, or, that was just sort of never going to be us. We really just wanted to do it for ourselves. So having a niche like a Doctor Who fandom, like a community fandom, where you can make a name for yourself in that sort of smaller venue, that's been better really than anything else. So
that's good advice too for people who want to do a hobby blog and like aren't necessarily trying to make it their full-time job. But if you find a supportive niche, like that can be a great way to actually feel like people are seeing what you're putting work into.
And you can get opportunities within that space. It's harder now. Like I will say, when we started doing New York Comic Con, we were able to get, a couple years ago, like we were able to get press passes for that. And now it's like no fan press. Like you cannot get press passes for bigger cons. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I've seen that the rules of like who can get what badges are changing pretty significantly.
Everybody has like a podcast,
right?
Right. Everybody has a blog. Everybody has something that they really love to do, which is what's great about it. That's obviously what's great about it, is that everybody has a platform. But I understand why stuff like that goes away. But my point is that things like going to Doctor Who conventions every year, applying to be on panels, offering to do main stage stuff. Then, because you're sort of known in that small space, you're able to get those opportunities. So we have gotten to do some really fun stuff. I will say to anybody who goes to cons and goes to discussion panels and is like, I don't know if I'm qualified to be up there. You are. Like, if you are a fan enough of something to go to a panel and be interested in the conversation, I am sure that you have something to contribute to that conversation. So I would encourage people, even if they have never sat on a discussion panel before, to please do it. It's really fun.
Yeah, especially if your team is good. Like if it's a good moderator, it's going to be a good panel.
And especially, I love my white dude friends, but especially if you're not a white dude, like just, step it up and help to make those spaces a little bit more inclusive. That's really great. So, so from doing sort of discussion panels and stuff like that, to the way that we ended up on the main stage at Long Island 2, which is where we met. But a couple years after that, the way we ended up on the main stage, basically, they have a press room at this con, at the small con. And so we would go to the press room, and it had been a couple of years that Paul McGann, aka the Eighth Doctor, had been to that convention. And for those of you who are not Doctor Who super fans, he played the Doctor in the 1996 TV movie. And then on Big Finish, which are these really awesome audio dramas, he's had a huge catalog of stuff there as that Doctor. And then in a short that went along with the 50th anniversary. But anyway, like that, he didn't have 4 seasons like David Tennant. Like he's played the Doctor a lot on audio, but he'd come to the convention a couple times, and we had sort of asked our questions. And so we were trying to decide like how we were going to do just our private interview with him. And we hit on this idea where we were like, let's just not ask him about Doctor Who at all. Let's just give him, like we were like, let's just see, like, are you a morning person or are you an evening person? Like, what's your favorite bank holiday? Like, we just came up with this list of stupid questions, and we were talking to some friends about it. And somebody was like, oh, I would watch that. I would watch the hell out of that. And so we pitched it. We pitched it to the programmers being like, they're never going to go for this. We were like, we just wanted to get your marquee guest on stage for an hour and ask him stupid questions. Right.
The weirdest
who's your favorite
questions
Beatle?
that
You know,
he's
like
never been
nothing
asked.
to do all with Doctor Who. And they were like, love it. Great. I'm like, are you sure? So to give us the main stage, they give us Paul, who is just a lovely human being and such a good sport. And we were sort of explaining to him before it started, we were like, here's the deal. And he was like, great, that sounds great. And we started to say, oh, here are some examples of questions. And he was like, no. Don't crib me. I'll hear them for the first time on stage. And I'm like, okay, great. And we just had a total blast. And I think hopefully people in the room had a really good time. They were coming up with their own questions, you know, because people step up to the mic and they're like, who's your favorite doctor besides you? And it's like the same questions all the time, but people were having so much fun. We call it this or that. So we give them two options and people were just having the best time coming up with like peanut butter or jelly, like whatever. And they were just rapid firing these to him. So we've made that sort of like that's our main stage niche.
That's so awesome too, because like, I mean, I know for that con specifically, they have like repeat guests sometimes, which I know smaller cons have. So that way you're not seeing the same guest answering the same interview questions for the fifth time in a row.
Giving
like
their
that's
anecdotes
so
and
smart
stuff.
of you
like
guys.
it was really fun. Like these people are really interesting. They live full lives. They do Doctor Who, but they also do other stuff. And I, as a fan of things, as a fan of celebrities, like that's the kind of stuff I want to know. Like, what do you eat for breakfast? I don't know. It's just like, why is it interesting? I don't know. It just is, because you want to feel like you know that person a little better. And I think everybody came out of that room feeling like they knew him a little better. And it was just like kind of like joyous and delightful. So we've done that. A couple other times, we did it with Katie Manning and Ingrid Oliver, also from Doctor Who. We did it at Gallifrey One with Camille Coduri, who played Jackie, and Gemma Redgrave, who plays Kate Stewart. We're on a stage with a Redgrave, again, asking her really dumb questions. But it's just, it's been so much fun to just the fact that, because these conventions that they happen annually, that the programmers are constantly looking for ways to sort of spice it up and make it new, that they gave us a shot to do that kind of stuff. So having that space in Doctor Who fandom, having the friends that we have and how supportive they are, and inviting us to do podcasts and, be in live shows and be on their panels, it just truly has been amazing. And that, I'm happier with that little level of whatever it is, notoriety, fame. I'm happy to be somebody that some people know in Doctor Who fandom. I don't necessarily need us to, again, get our blog bought by some big corporation.
Well, that's fun too, because then it's more I guess flexible maybe is the word. You don't have, 50 sponsors who are up your butt about everything you do.
Right.
You can actually just do whatever you want, which is awesome. And I feel like that's when you get more creative ideas, which is just so great.
We want to take a quick break from the episode to thank our sponsor, Jordan Denay. Jordan Denay is a geek chic home goods and apparel brand that is based in Brooklyn. All of our designs are hand lettered, and we use quotes that are inspired by our favorite characters and stories in pop culture. We have super, super soft shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and all kinds of home goods and accessories if you want to be subtly nerdy in your everyday life. You can check us out at jordandenay.com and at Jordan Denay NYC all over the internet.
Yeah, and then as far as work, that's been fun too. I think I'm going to get to do some more interviews in this new job, just because TV is just such a beast. We had so much content to TV just gets crazier every year, and it felt like there was never enough time in all my other duties to actually get to do my own writing. But
TV is so much, so
and we're
much.
getting into the crazy time of movies because it's going to be all the awards movies are coming out, but it's still, it doesn't really compare. So hopefully I'll get to do some more. But yeah, with work, everything from like, going to junkets and sitting down with people for 15 minutes to having really awesome celebs come into the office to do like a shoot and then like a longer sit down interview. So you mentioned Zazie Beetz. I got to talk to her before Deadpool came out. Like, she's fascinating and so cool. I love Atlanta too. So that was just like a joy talking to her. And she's just very like real. Like, she just like tells you, she's like, fame sucks sometimes, she was just like,
I remember reading that. And I was like, okay, yeah.
And not in a way that she was like, oh, poor me. But she was like, life is hard. It's hard for everybody in different ways. And I was like, you're right. So she was super cool. I got to talk to Ruth Wilson, who I love from Luther and so many other things. After she came up to Be Fair, that was super fun. What else? Yeah, I've talked to a lot of cool people, and I get to do it for my job. So that's exciting. And go to some events and stuff like red carpet. I personally do not like doing red carpets because it is like so stressful. I would rather, oh my God.
It looks stressful. I've never been near one, but it looks
crazy.
insane.
And it's crazy because if you're like, I don't come with a camera crew. I'm just doing print interviews. Right. And so you've got like lights next to you and this guy's big camera and these people are filming for Instagram. And I'm just like, it's hot, there's lights. I don't like doing those. I would much prefer.
I'm sure it's really competitive too.
Some people are really aggressive. And that can be too, like if you go to, for example, at Comic-Con, most of the press opportunities are round tables. So if you've never been to a round table, you literally go up into this little press room. There may be like 3 or 4 tables and they will split up the talent, like 1 or 2 people per table. All of the press is sitting around them. And then it's just it's just unmoderated. So like you have to ask your question before the person next to you asks their question. So that's a little like every man for themselves. Usually people are pretty conscious and they will like not try to dominate the conversation and ask more questions. Like it's like you get one, like we're 8 people sitting around a table. We have 10 minutes. You get one question. But those can be a little bit, anytime you're fighting for somebody's attention, I find that really hard. So I much prefer to have time that I am scheduled to sit down with a person and no one interrupts me. Like that's the way I prefer to do it.
Yeah. That seems like the best, especially the long interviews. You can like actually get deep into some stuff, which you can't do on a red carpet or in a room with a million other people.
But that's something I would love to do in the future. Because if you do, you read these big profiles in like Vanity Fair and GQ and they're like, I spent the weekend with so-and-so and we went and did the I'm going to do something like that. I get half an hour and I'm delighted, but one of those things where they're like, we went bowling and then she made me pasta, right?
Yeah, all night. Yeah.
How did I give me one of those?
That is the dream. Like that's, especially if it's someone you're obsessed with, that
or
would be
just
so
such a long
great.
time to have to like pretend to be normal.
Yeah. Either way, maybe that's too much.
Yeah. Cause I still do freak out and, I've learned that everybody gets really nervous before interviews and that you just kind of fight through it. And usually what happens with me is like, I'll be stressing out literally until the person walks into the room or picks up the phone. And then you're like, it's a human being, like you're talking to a person. And so you sort of lose a little bit of that. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah. When it's like way more in your head than actual and you can just like snap out of it. That is great. What are some of your other like personal fan things that are unrelated to everything? Like your favorite, I mean, for one, I know you guys are obsessed with One Direction because you go see them all the time.
Yeah, that's my fandom stretches far and wide. I am a big Doctor Who fan. I love Star Wars. I like my space operas. I like all that kind of stuff. I like sci-fi, but I also love boy bands. I've loved boy bands since I was a kid. I was a huge NSYNC fan. I sort of accidentally fell into One Direction a couple years ago, and now that is a thing. And it's really fun to see how fandom sprouts up in these spaces and how it sort of continues. And it's cool to like being involved in One Direction and then being involved probably out of anything else, mostly Doctor Who, and seeing the different ways that fandom works. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize that, you know, there's this huge LGBTQ fan base of One Direction that's like super, super active on Tumblr and everywhere else. And I was like, oh, this is a thing, you know? And then you go to, like, we go to Harry Styles concerts and people are planning this like rainbow flag project and handing out pride flags. And this is a big deal. And I don't think that people who just barely know who they are or don't know anything about the fandom would assume that. The assumption with boy bands is always it's a bunch of screaming 16-year-old girls who want to marry everybody. And in reality, it's like all these like beautiful lesbians who are like, this is a pride parade. Like, this concert, I feel good here and my friends are here. And so it's just, it's really cool to see the different ways that fandom kind of manifests.
I think that's nice too, because I feel like a lot of areas of fandom get that, I don't know if stigma is the right word, but it like everyone just assumes it's just like a bunch of like young girls with crushes. But when you're actually in it, you're like, no, there's some depth here too. Like, it's not just everyone has like a really shallow crush and that's why they're here. Like, there are reasons why people are fans of things. And it, even if it seems like it's really surface level, if you're in it, there can be like so much more going on.
And it's like anything else, you know, there's like the transformative fandom, like people put so much time into this, like the fan art that you see, the fanfic, the, you know, all the different ways that people try to, like when it's somebody's birthday and they run some huge fundraising campaign for their favorite charity, like it's stuff like that. And I'm like, so this brainless, nameless teenage girl who you assume is the main audience for whatever this thing is like just raised like $10,000 on the internet just because she loves this person so much and she wanted to do a good thing in their name. Like, that's not who that is. So, I think fandom in general, and there's assumptions across everything. There's even assumptions obviously within the fandom. Like, we run into that, not a lot with Doctor Who, but you know, you get the thing where if you, like you said, like we've got a girl gang and it's always growing. So if you see us at a con, come say hi. We're always collecting people.
I love running into you guys because you're such like a force. Like, it's like, okay, you guys are, and not in a scary Mean Girls way. It's just like, oh wow, there's a group of people over there.
We try to be awesome. I think we're welcoming. I think like we've brought people into the fold.
No, you totally are. I mean, we were friends within the first 5 minutes of meeting, so I would say yes.
I think that maybe if people do see a big group, if certain people do see like a big group of young women at a Doctor Who convention, you know, wearing glitter, like whatever, they would make certain assumptions about that, which might not include the fact that we are really friendly and want people to join in, or that, you know, we think critically about the show, or, you know, there are a lot of assumptions I think that happen within fandom. And the only way, circling back to my earlier point, which is that people should do panels no matter who they are, like you gotta let these people know that the fandom is broad and inclusive, and when they see you in front of their face making like an amazing point about XYZ episode, like every little bit helps to change that perception, I guess.
I think that's so awesome. I think you guys are doing a great job, and I love it.
You.
And I hope I run into you guys at all the cons forever. What's the best way for people to follow, like, because your work is kind of not all over the place, but in a couple places. Do you post it all on Twitter?
Yeah,
or like
so my personal Twitter is Sage Youngest, EST at the end of my name. And our blog Twitter is Head Over Feels, and we are headoverfeels.com over there. And I cross post a lot, but yeah, you can please follow me in both places.
Yeah, we'll link to it in the show notes too, so anyone who wants to find it. But when is your most handsome young man?
It's usually we'll kick it off in December. So yeah,
cool.
Look for Most Handsome Young Man. If you have any, you can tweet us with your ideas. I think we've almost locked down our nominees, but we are willing to listen. We'll take requests.
Yeah, and we'll post it too because it's our favorite thing. That is so awesome. Thanks so much for
Jordan.
chatting.
This was super fun.
Yeah. So go check out Head Over Feels. And if you like the podcast and want to hear more, you can subscribe and leave us a review. Oh, and Sage also wrote for the first issue of our magazine. So if you haven't checked that out, you can grab a digital copy on our website. Have a great week, guys. Stay nerdy, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.